How you doing, Smee? Are you doing well? You doing good after your surgery? You say, my wound's healing up well? You doing good, buddy. You a good boy. You a good boy.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Corin, also known as the Kitten Choreographer. My pronouns are they, them, and I am a teen with a passion for animal rescue and, in particular, kitten rescue. Before I start with the video, I just want to say sorry for the, again, like dropping off the face of the earth for a bit. That's pretty common for me, unfortunately. I'm really trying to get better, but I've just had some stress in my life recently leading to my mental health being not always the best. But that's okay because I'm feeling a bit better now and I'm going to go ahead and make a video. So this video is kind of a part 2 to a video I did a few weeks ago. I will link that video in the description below because you might not really understand what's going on in this video if you haven't watched that video. But this video is an update to me talking about how Smee needed surgery. He has had surgery now, and this is kind of a reflection on how the surgery went and how his first week and a half of recovery has been so far. Week and a half. I'm not sure exactly how much. So I had originally intended to kind of vlog the process of dropping Smee off for the surgery, but one, we had to drop him off 7:30 in the morning, so I made my dad do it. He already had to leave early, so I just had him do it. And it was a lot more stressful than I anticipated. I was a complete wreck leading up to the surgery. I have a lot of anxiety about surgeries, and the anxiety has always been for myself, but after finding out that Smee needed surgery, the anxiety became a lot more for Smee's surgery than it's ever been for me thinking about myself having surgery. Oh, hi! My foster kitten Oliver was at my feet wanting to say hi. Hi, cutie. This is my little orange fluff ball. He was a bottle baby. He's not anymore because he's a big boy and he eats meat. He's so playful right now. But leading up to Smee's surgery, I was so anxious. I had to go to my rescue director's house to do something with Oliver. I think I was getting his vaccines, his first round, and she could tell I was so anxious. I was just filled to the absolute brim with anxiety, and I knew that for me and for my sake, I could not film a vlog of that. And honestly, I wouldn't have been able to do that much because I couldn't go in with the surgery. I don't know if I've said, but he did go through surgery well. I feel like this video would have a very worse tone if that was not the case. So hopefully, even though I haven't said that, that's okay, that you kind of inferred that. But yes, I was a complete wreck leading up to a surgery, and even the couple days after, because I was so worried that there would be a complication even after the surgery and that we'd have to rush him back to the vet and he wouldn't make it. I was terrified, and my anxiety and mental health disorders made that so much worse. So let's go ahead and talk about the surgery and the beginning of the recovery process. Nothing graphic included here. But for the surgery process, we basically dropped him off at 7:30, and the surgeon was really busy that day, so he didn't end up getting to do Smee's surgery until around 2:30 or 3. For the surgery, I don't know exactly how long it took because we were only really contacted once he was already awake and doing well. But I do know one big change from what I'd said in my first video about this was that he was going to be having 2 surgeries about 6 months apart. That changed because a couple days before the surgery, the vet decided that we could just do both legs at the same time, and that would prevent him from having to go under anesthesia twice, going through recovery twice, and it ended up making the cost a good bit less. We'd originally thought that he couldn't do both legs because he might try to walk and it would just be harder to walk, but then we realized that we were going to be keeping him in a small playpen for the allotted recovery time anyway, so he wouldn't have that chance to, walk that much anyway. So in the end, the vet just decided that we could go ahead and do both legs at the same time, which I think was definitely good because I'm not sure we could go through this recovery again. It hasn't been difficult, it's just been, well, it has been a little bit difficult, but I think that recovery with a cat or dog is hard no matter what, just because you can't really tell them, here are the instructions for how to keep your recovery good. The pet parents kind of have to oversee that but the pet doesn't understand, and so sometimes they try and go against the recovery directions because they don't know any better, and you'll see this with Smee in just a minute. So fortunately, Smee did very well in his surgery. It went exactly as expected, and so the rest of this video is really just going to be about the recovery and kind of how we've been helping him since he got his surgery. I'm gonna post a quick photo here of him kind of right after he woke up from the surgery. I don't think it's graphic, but it does show his like closed wound right after having surgery. No blood, no open wounds or anything. There's just like some staples there lining it. So if that does bother you, go ahead and skip ahead a few seconds, but if not, I don't really think it will for most people. This is it. He's just chilling here. You know, he was very loopy when this picture was taken. The vet said he was just so out of it because he had just woken up from anesthesia. It's one of those things where he like didn't really know what was going on, and the vet said he was very like angry. He was just very like, what is going on? I don't like this. And that is very unusual for Smee. Smee is a very sweet cat and he usually isn't bothered by much, but that bothered him. He was fine the next day. It was just a very big like, I don't know what's going on. Where am I? This is not home. I feel weird. My legs, they don't feel right because he had just had surgery. And so the vet did give us pain meds twice a day for a while. We're still going through them about a week and a half later. And I have had a discussion with my dad, like, does he really need these? He doesn't seem to be in any pain. But obviously the vet prescribed them, and you should always give, whether it's your pet or yourself, the medicine your doctor prescribes, so we are giving it to him. But there was just a question of like, he doesn't seem to be in pain at all, which is obviously very good. The pain medicine is working, and I'm very glad that he doesn't seem to be in any pain, because the worst thing ever is seeing your baby suffer. But he did end up staying at the vet overnight, one night, so that they could monitor him, make sure everything was okay, and everything was, so the next day I got to take him home. It was around like 6 p.m. the next day, so he was there for like 36 hours-ish, and I was so happy to get him home. He was so loopy on the drive home. Like, I kind of just held him and he just like stared out the window the entire time, like, it was so weird. It was so funny. He was so loopy. But the recovery process, I will try and insert some videos sometime around here of what we've kind of been doing for his setup. So Smee is sleeping right here right now, but I'm gonna go ahead and show you his playpen setup in here. So it's about that big. It's got a cozy blanket, a nice pillow, and I zip it closed because he can't actually get out through the top, believe it or not. That is one of his impressive feats. But yes, I have one of these out here, and then I have one in the other room, but I'm just going to show you this one right now. And this is the setup he's been staying in. So Smee always had like a little playpen, a mesh playpen that he would sleep in at nights, and that was mostly so he could get to his litter box if he needed it, and so he didn't hurt himself. But honestly, it was mostly just so that he didn't bang against the door trying to get into the other room in the middle of the night, because he did do that. But he was very used to being in a playpen at night, and he didn't mind it. And that's definitely what we were planning to do and did do for his surgery so far. So we have 2 playpens. I will link those playpens in the description below. I use the bigger sizes for foster kittens, and then I use the smaller sizes for Smee. I do think they're a good tool to have if you're a kitten fosterer, or really just anyone that needs to keep a cat in recovery from a surgery or in a confined place for a while. It's a nice, comfortable environment that doesn't feel like a cage or anything. And we had 2 of these. We had one of them in this room here, which is now just to the left of me, and that's where he stayed at night. But during the day, I wanted him to be out more where my more common area is, and so I stay out there, just that's where the TV is, that's where I do my school, so I'm just around there a lot. So we have a playpen in that room as well, so that I could kind of keep an eye on him. He wouldn't be all alone for a lot of that time, because for the first like month at least, he does have to stay in that playpen if nobody is watching him, if nobody is with him. And I have begun to give him some like bedtime with me where he can just kind of rest, nap. I'll be like reading a book or on my iPad watching YouTube or something, and he'll just be like resting next to me, and I can kind of watch him so that he gets a little break from that. But yeah, I have just been trying to make it as comfortable a process as possible for him, and for the first week he didn't really mind being in the playpen, but the problem started probably like a day after the surgery, maybe 2. and Smee noticed that he had staples. They used staples instead of stitches. I assume because of the location of the incision for the surgery and how big the incision had to be so that the vet could get into his leg area. And he recognized that those staples weren't usually there, and he saw them as something that were a problem and that needed to be removed. And so he started trying to rip them out, and he successfully ripped out just a couple staples before I realized what he was doing. It was very quick after he started doing it, but I was like, whoa, Smee. And so that's when we had to make him a cone head. And I felt really bad about that because I was really hoping he wasn't going to have to wear a cone, because cones aren't something that pets like. And I just felt really bad the entire time he had his cone on, but I knew it was needed for him because he was ruthless with trying to get those staples out. Like, you took your eye off him for a second and boom, he was back at the staples. And so I'm like, oh my god, Smee. Because I hoped that he wouldn't need a cone, we didn't get a cone beforehand in preparation. So it was a very quick, like, we have to go to PetSmart and get him a cone. And so we had 3 options here, and they were not the best. But because we didn't have the best options, all of these are like, 2 of them are just for dogs, but we made them work for a cat, and then 1 of them is for dogs and cats. This is the first option. I was really hoping this one would work for him because it's the most like comfy looking, like it's kind of squishy. It's an inflatable one. This did not, like, it fit him fine, but he managed to do a really fancy stretching technique to get to the staples even with this on. So this one did not work. I'm not saying it's a bad cone, it just, Smee is creative in his methods to getting staples out. I will try and find these cones and link them in the description below, just in case you need a cone for your cat. So this one here was made for dogs, but I was able to kind of figure out the only reason it was made for dogs was because it came with a lavender scented calming thing, which lavender is very toxic to cats, so that is of course why you couldn't use it with that. But the lavender thing came packaged in like a plastic thing that was completely separate from this right here, and so we just didn't put the lavender thing in here, and we were able to use this for him. The thing about this one is he could get this off if we didn't have a collar. So we had to actually buy this collar too, because he didn't have one. He's an indoor cat, we didn't really think he needed it. And we had to slip this in the rings here, and then he couldn't get it off. This is the cone we ended up using for most of the time. I'd hoped he could have like a pillow one, but he's very good at stretching apparently and can get to the staples anyway. So we had to use one of these traditional cone shaped, but at least it's squishy. The one we had to use for one night that he could not get off even without a collar was this one. This is a very traditional plastic cone, and this is so uncomfortable. If you gotta use them, you gotta use them, but I would try and find one of the comfier, at least squishy ones before going to this one. He was just so unhappy in this one when we had to put him in it for like a night before we could get the collar. And I felt bad. So yes, I felt bad about the whole cone thing, but I knew it was important for him not to rip out his staples because 1, that hurts him. 2, staples near his mouth, no. And 3, like, the staples were there for a reason in the first place. A couple days ago though, he was able to get his staples out, and he has been coneless since then because he doesn't try and bite at the incision anymore now that there is no like foreign material in there. For the first couple nights, he did not eat on his own. He was just not interested in it. So what we did is we mixed water with some of his normal wet food, and then I fed it to him through a syringe, which it's not the easiest thing to do, and he didn't really want to be fed that way, but he would eat, and it was just very important. He got liquids, he got nutrients during that time, and after a couple days, he did fortunately start eating on his own again. So now we've just been offering him food, dry food and wet food and water, and he's been eating that on his own, which is really good. The first couple days, he also didn't want to use the litter box when we put him in, so we just put puppy pads underneath the blankets and swapped him out a couple times a day after he'd gone. Now, fortunately, he does go in the litter box a couple times a day when we put him in, which is good. But it does seem that we've created a pretty good routine for him until he can be out of the playpen and more returning to normal. And I'm glad about that because I want him to be as comfortable as possible in this process. But yes, now that we're developing a routine, I think it's really good. So this video was more just an update for you all to say that Smee's okay, he's doing good, and to kind of let you know what we're doing to keep him doing well. I'll probably have at least one more Smee update when he's kind of towards the end of his recovery, just in case you're interested, and I will try and be getting back to somewhat regular uploads. It is hard for me because I am a full-time student, I am fostering kittens, and I do have mental health struggles, which can make things hard to upload sometimes, but I do really enjoy it, so I want to try and get back to a more regular uploading thing. I know I say that every time. I know it doesn't always happen. I'm sorry, I try. But yes, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, make sure to like it and subscribe for more kitten-related content. I upload on Sundays and on Wednesdays, if I can, and if I can't, then I upload whenever I'm able to. Also, please make sure to leave any thoughts or questions that you have down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and goodbye!